Israeli attacks on Hezbollah targets are back in the spotlight, this time as part of a wider conflict involving not just Israel, but also the United States and Iran. Tel Aviv continues to frame Hezbollah's disarmament as its central objective, alongside efforts to establish a so-called security zone in southern Lebanon. But Israel's stated aims and its actual ambitions may not be one and the same. To better understand what is unfolding in Lebanon today, listen to what Israeli officials and public figures have been saying openly about their goals for sovereign Lebanese territory.
לכבוש שטח, לקחת את רצועת הביטחון, להחריב את הכפרים ולכבוש את השטח הזה, לצרף אותו למדינת ישראל. זה מה שצריך לעשות כדי לייצר ביטחון ואיזושהי רצועת ביטחון הגיונית עבור תושבי הצפון.
לכבוש שטח, לגרש את כל מי שנמצא שם, להרוס את כל מה שיש שם ולהכריז עליו, להפוך אותו לתחום מוות.
זה נראה שאנחנו מובילים את מדינת לבנון לעבר מלחמת אזרחים, אולי זה לא רע לנו. שהממשלה הלבנונית תילחם בחיזבאללה.
רציתם להביא עלינו גיהנום, הבאתם גיהנום על עצמכם. הדחיה תיראה כמו ח'אן יונס.
Israel argues this disproportionate response is necessary to destroy Hezbollah's militant infrastructure and protect northern Israeli communities. Yet this rhetoric goes well beyond Israel's immediate security concerns. The discourse on Lebanon invokes the rhetoric and strategy Israel used during its destruction of Palestine's Gaza: control, territory, and permanent presence. So, is this conflict really about defeating Hezbollah? Or is Hezbollah simply a convenient excuse for Israeli expansionism? On this episode of The Real Question, we'll hear from a regional expert on the group's origins and what drives the cycle of violence. But first, here's the context on how we got here.
אנחנו קודשים את משטר הטרור באיראן. אנחנו פוגעים וקודשים את עושה דברו, החיזבאללה בלבנון. בשילוב זרועות חסר תקדים בין ישראל וארצות הברית, השגנו הישגים עצומים. הישגים שמשנים את מאזן הכוחות במזרח התיכון וגם מעבר לו.
Lebanon was drawn into the US and Israeli war on Iran on March 2nd after Hezbollah fired rockets into northern Israel, reportedly to avenge the targeted killing of Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei. The outbreak of violence followed a ceasefire framework that was brokered by the US and France in November 2024 that aimed to halt cross-border fire and restore the framework of UN Security Council Resolution 1701, the 2006 ceasefire agreement that established a UN-monitored buffer zone in southern Lebanon. But according to the Lebanese government and data cited in UN monitoring reports, Israel has been carrying out thousands of violations since the ceasefire came into effect. Airspace incursions, drone activity, artillery fire, and repeated strikes in southern Lebanon. Israel claimed these were done to prevent unauthorized Hezbollah activity south of the Litani River. But since the Lebanese front reactivated in full force following the unprovoked US-Israeli strikes on Iran, Tel Aviv launched its worst bombardment of Lebanon's civilian areas in decades. Up to a quarter of the population has been displaced, taking refuge in tents or in their cars. Bridges and critical infrastructure has been destroyed, cutting off hundreds of thousands of people in the south from the rest of the country. On April 8th, just hours after a 2-week ceasefire was brokered by Pakistan between the US and Iran, Israel dropped 160 bombs across the country in a matter of minutes, one of the worst mass killings in Lebanon since its civil war culminated in 1990. More than 300 people were killed. Entire neighborhoods in the south have been flattened, with more than 1,400 buildings destroyed since March 2nd. According to the Lebanese Health Ministry, more than 2,000 people have been killed, including over 250 children and more than 6,000 injured. Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, says the military will expand its invasion of southern Lebanon up to the Litani River, citing what he called the model of Rafah and Beit Hanun in Gaza. He added that hundreds of thousands of Lebanese residents would not be allowed to return until Israel's northern border was secured.
This is part of the increased rhetoric that is very much concerning to us. What we want, what we need is for Israel, for Hezbollah, and all other parties to fully implement Security Council Resolution 1701, as there is no military solution to this conflict.
So the real question is this really about Hezbollah? Or is there a deeper motive at play? To answer that, I turned to Rami Khouri, Distinguished Public Policy Fellow at the American University of Beirut.
This is the 7th time Israel moves into Lebanon with destruction and killing and ethnic cleansing, and they haven't achieved their aims, and they're still not achieving their aims. It's unbelievable.
On June 6, 1982, Israel launched a full-scale invasion of Lebanon, targeting the Bekaa Valley, Beirut, and the refugee camps in the south that housed a significant number of Palestinians who had been violently displaced from their homes and land after the Nakba in 1948. The Palestine Liberation Organization had been recruiting fighters from these camps and using Lebanon as a base from which to attack Israel. The PLO was forced to relocate from Lebanon to Tunisia following Israel's 1982 military assault and international mediation. Their expulsion created a power vacuum, particularly among the Shia population. From the beginning, Hezbollah received strong backing from the Revolutionary Guards of Iran, which had undergone the 1979 revolution and was seeking to expand its influence across the Middle East. It was in this context that Hezbollah, an armed Shia group with strong ties to Iran, was formed in southern Lebanon in response to the Israeli occupation.
Hezbollah was born out of the joining among 4 or 5 smaller indigenous Lebanese groups in the south of Lebanon, mostly in the 70s and 80s, to push back against Israeli attacks on Lebanon. The Israelis have been attacking Lebanon from the 1960s. In 1968, they went in and destroyed all the planes of Middle East Airlines at Beirut Airport. I was there when that happened. So they've been attacking Lebanon since the 60s, mainly because of the presence of Palestinian groups there and some Lebanese progressive and Arab nationalist groups. All those movements came together. The impetus was to push back the Israelis, and it worked.
Israel's occupation of the south lasted for nearly 20 years. During that time, an estimated 17,000 to 19,000 Lebanese, Palestinians, and Syrians were killed by Israeli forces, including over 3,000 civilians. In May 2000, then Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak ordered a unilateral withdrawal from southern Lebanon, ending the Israeli occupation without a formal peace agreement. Following Israel's withdrawal, Hezbollah grew increasingly powerful, establishing itself as a major force in Lebanese politics and a constant thorn in Israel's side. Then, in July 2006, Israel and Hezbollah entered a 34-day conflict after the group seized 2 Israeli soldiers for the exchange of Lebanese prisoners held in Israeli jails. In response, Israel launched a large-scale attack across Lebanon. More than 1,100 people were killed, most of them civilians, and large parts of the south and Beirut's suburbs were devastated, including roads, bridges, and energy infrastructure. A ceasefire came through UN Security Council Resolution 1701, brokered by the US and France in August of that same year. It called for Israeli withdrawal from southern Lebanon, the deployment of the Lebanese army and UN peacekeepers in the south, and Hezbollah's disarmament below the Litani River. A UN-patrolled buffer zone was established, but Israel continued to carry out repeated airspace violations and surveillance operations that Lebanon consistently documented and condemned. The years that followed saw low-intensity clashes held in check by more mutual deterrence than peace. Israel's treatment of Palestinians kept the Lebanese front on edge, particularly its blockade of Palestine's Gaza, which experts have described as illegal, pointing to restrictions on essential supplies, severe limits on Palestinians' freedom of movement, and policies that at one point included calculating the minimum calories allowed in, along with the apartheid system it uses to control and seize land from Palestinians in occupied East Jerusalem and Palestine's occupied West Bank. A few isolated rockets were launched from southern Lebanon during Israel's wars on Gaza in 2008 and 2014. But in 2021, after Israeli forces stormed Al-Aqsa Mosque in occupied East Jerusalem, more sustained cross-border fire followed. That uneasy status quo shattered in October 2023. Palestinian group Hamas launched a surprise cross-border blitz against Israel. Israel followed with a military assault of unprecedented brutality. Rights groups accuse Israel of employing collective punishment and starvation as weapons of war. Much of the international community called it a textbook case of genocide. A day after Israel launched its annihilatory war on Gaza, Hezbollah began firing rockets and artillery into northern Israel, saying it was acting in solidarity with Palestinians. Israel responded with airstrikes. What started as limited exchanges escalated into sustained cross-border conflict. Even after Israel announced in 2024 that it had killed Hezbollah's Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah and other senior commanders and claimed to have significantly degraded the group's operational capacity, strikes on Lebanese territory did not stop. Then, in November 2024, a ceasefire was announced, but quickly came under strain. France reported at least 52 Israeli violations in December 2024 alone. By late 2025, Lebanese authorities and UN-linked reporting estimated hundreds of deaths and injuries caused by Israeli strikes, with tens of thousands of civilians unable to return home. Israeli officials have consistently justified the Israeli military's aggression in southern Lebanon as a response to alleged Hezbollah activity. Yet Israeli forces have continued to kill unarmed civilians. When the US and Israel began their aggression on Iran on February 28th, Hezbollah joined in soon after in support, and another cycle of escalation began. Now Israel is demanding the complete disarmament of Hezbollah. Within Lebanon, that demand has entered official policy discussions. Under heavy international pressure, the government and the Lebanese armed forces have outlined plans to bring all weapons under state authority. But an implementation of that plan remains deeply contested and politically fragile, given fears of internal conflict and continued Israeli strikes. The pressure is coming now from multiple directions at once. Military escalation from Israel, diplomatic pressure from the United States, an intense internal debate inside Lebanon over whether Hezbollah's weapons can be addressed without destabilizing the country further. At the heart of this debate is Iran's role. Tehran provides significant financial and military backing to Hezbollah, but the nature of their relationship remains contested, particularly over how far Iranian support shapes the group's decision-making. Hezbollah has long been open about its ties to Iran. In a 2016 speech, Nasrallah acknowledged that the group's budget, its income, its expenses, everything it eats and drinks, its weapons and rockets come from the Islamic Republic of Iran. But analysts continue to debate the extent to which it acts as an autonomous Lebanese force pursuing domestic interests alongside Iranian regional objectives.
Hezbollah is not only a militant fighting force, they're a political party, they're in the government, they're in the parliament, they're in the cabinet. They often have a decisive role in choosing the president or the prime minister or formulating national policy. So they're not just a militant force linked to Iran, they're an indigenous Lebanese political actor.
Hezbollah is part of the Lebanese political system built on sectarian power sharing, where authority is divided along religious communal lines. It's a legacy of the country's civil war. Public opinion of the group has never been uniform. Support for Hezbollah has risen during confrontations with Israel and fallen during domestic crises.
The anti-Hezbollah sentiment in society in Lebanon is as old as Hezbollah, for two reasons. Even though Hezbollah has a lot of support in Lebanon, and that amount of support varies. Sometimes it's mainly Shiites and a few allies, like 50, 60%, and sometimes it goes up to 70 or 80% when Hezbollah drives the Israelis out of Lebanon. It varies over time.
With substantial backing from Iran, Hezbollah has maintained support among sections of Lebanese society, largely due to its long-standing image as a force of resistance against Israel. But for many Lebanese, regardless of political affiliation, these wars are not abstract confrontations. They are lived experiences of loss, instability, and repeated displacement.
And there's, one of the great ongoing debates in Lebanon is about whether Hezbollah is a close strategic ally of Iran and they work together for their mutual benefit, or whether it is a puppet or a surrogate or a proxy of Iran, and Iran totally controls it and tells it what to do. I tend to favor the first view, which is that it is a very close strategic ally of Iran, and it's working for the interests of both Iran and the Lebanese and the Palestinians, they say.
Critics argue that Hezbollah's decisions, including opening a front in solidarity with Iran, exposed the entire country to devastating Israeli aggression, turning southern Lebanon into a battlefield while ordinary Lebanese pay the price. A 2025 Gallup poll found around 80% of Lebanese saying only the National Army should hold weapons, and opposing wars fought on behalf of external causes.
People are fed up with wars that are instigated in the south between Israel and Hezbollah, clashing with each other for various reasons. And those wars end up devastating all of Lebanon, as we're witnessing now with the Israeli occupation of the south, destruction of entire villages.
These frustrations have only deepened as the latest round of fighting brings new layers of destruction. Human rights organizations have documented Israel's use of white phosphorus over residential areas in southern Lebanon, which is illegal under international law, including a March 3rd attack in the town of Yomur.
I mean, now what the Israelis are doing is trying to create a whole wasteland, a desolation region along the south, like Gaza, where there are no Lebanese. They destroy the houses, they destroy the villages, they poison the agricultural fields. They sometimes shut down and destroy the water wells and whatever. And this is something that the Lebanese people have suffered for years, and they're including mass evacuations, which now you have about 1.2 million, about a quarter almost of the Lebanese population has been pushed out of the south and South Beirut and other parts of the Bekaa, where the Hezbollah supporters, Shiites mostly, are dominant.
This raises the central question of this episode. Is this really about defeating Hezbollah? Or is Israel replicating in southern Lebanon the template it used in Gaza, a genocidal war that has left the Palestinian territory in ruins, killing over 70,000 Palestinians, destroying 92% of the enclave's homes and infrastructure and 80% of its agriculture, and creating unlivable conditions for 2.1 million Palestinians in an attempt, many critics argue, to get them all to leave.
The problem is not in Lebanon. The problem is in Zionism. The problem is in the Israeli ideology of a dominant state, a militarized, aggressive state that can do anything it wants anywhere in the region, in any country. Their strategy is to create in Lebanon a desolation, a region where no human or animal or plant life can exist. They've destroyed thousands and thousands of houses and buildings in the south. They've hit hospitals, they've hit schools, they've hit bridges, they've hit water systems. They don't want human life south of the Litani River unless it's people who sign a peace agreement with Israel under duress and accept to live as vassals of Greater Israel.
Many see this not as an isolated offensive against one group, but as part of a recurring Israeli strategy to reshape southern Lebanon and the broader region through overwhelming force to expand its borders. Yet, Rami argues that no amount of aggression can extinguish the basic human drive to resist subjugation.
It's a human issue, not a Lebanese or Israeli issue. It's a human issue that subjugated people who are denied their rights in their own country and are repeatedly attacked and suffer massive damage and are humiliated and are pushed to accept servitude. They will not do that. They will fight back. They will resist. And this is human nature.
On April 16th, US mediated talks between Israeli and Lebanese ambassadors in Washington, D.C. produced a 10-day ceasefire. But it is the latest in a long series of ceasefire agreements over the years, many of which have been undermined by Israel's refusal to withdraw from sovereign Lebanese territory, while conducting periodic airstrikes, cross-border operations, and targeted killings, many analysts agree that Hezbollah is less the cause of this conflict than a symptom of it, born from decades of occupation, war, and repeated Israeli invasions into Lebanon. And as long as the deeper history remains unaddressed and Israeli security continues to be defined through domination, the cycle of violence appears destined to keep repeating itself.